Prior to our meeting with Fantino, the then Veterans Affairs critic for the Grits, Jim Karajanis, had in his office a piece of paper, waving it back and forth. Said it was his resignation. And he promised to submit it if his party leader, Mr. Trudeau, refused to meet with us. And although we soon learned that Mr. Trudeau would in fact grant us an audience, what we thought would be a meeting turned into one question and a photo op. I tried to talk with him, but his staff wouldn't even let me near him. It was at this time that Mr. Mulcair approached me. He introduced himself and asked me questions, and gave me 20 minutes of his time listening to my grievances. The next morning, I met with Windsor Tecumseh's Mr. Joe Comartin. He bought me breakfast that morning, and I asked him if I could get a pass the question period that day. Mr. Comartin agreed to do this, and to my surprise, I was put in the gallery directly across from the Conservative member representing this riding. I watched and listened as Mr. Mulcair began to demand accountability from the actions taken by Mr. Fantino the night before, grateful that somebody was standing up for our plight. But to my horror, the Conservative member representing this riding, the man sitting across from me, the only man I'd ever voted for federally in 4 separate elections, began to heckle the men and women trying to help me. I will never forget hearing him yell, "Pants on fire," like a schoolyard bully, jeering and mocking those political leaders trying to keep our Veterans Affairs offices open. Needless to say, I was horrified and I felt betrayed. Not only by this man, but the government we elected who claimed to champion the right of the veterans. There's no denying that the Department of Veterans Affairs is broken. From the recent office closures to the lack of compensation for those injured. Take the example of Dan Scott. He was injured in Afghanistan. He ended up losing a kidney, his spleen, and part of his pancreas. Under the new Veterans Charter, Mr. Scott was awarded a $41,000 lump sum payment. To put that into perspective, if his lump sum was to be made into an annuity every month, Mr. Scott's pension would award him roughly $140. My own injury in Afghanistan, where 5% of my brain was removed, awarded me a mere $22,000 lump sum, or an annuity that would work out to $75 a month. I can't even buy a tank of gas once a month with my pension. Recently, I've been trying to get help for 2 of World War II's heroes, men in their 90s who have been reduced to begging from Veterans Affairs, only to see them face the same delay tactics that you and I are all too familiar with. Veterans Affairs' triple D tactics of delay, deny, and die are too real, and the faceless identity that this department has donned needs to be challenged. I will leave you with this thought. Recently, when Mr. Joe Comartin announced that he was going to retire from public office, something he said resonated with me. Surrounded by his friends and family, Mr. Comartin said to everyone, "Canada is a great country, but it can be so much better." Mr. Comartin is right. Canada can be so much better, starting with making real and significant changes to the Department of Veterans Affairs. The plight of the veterans, the men and women who give themselves for defense of this country, is an issue that unites all Canadians, of all ethnicities, from all socioeconomic backgrounds. And so too should our cause be championed by political leaders. I ask all of you to help make this country better, to stand up for the rights of the veterans, and to challenge your federal representative to do their jobs as leaders of this great country. Because a nation based on greed will not survive morally, economically, or politically. Thank you.